What's poppin', everybody? Welcome to another episode of Real G Football. I am Jeff Wall, as you all know, and today we will talk about the return of football. Well, I mean, it's return for the most part, right? You got the Premier League back, Ligue back, you got the DFB Pokal. I mean, most leagues are pretty much back with a few postponements. Obviously, some of the major teams aren't really playing. But we'll start off with the quick turnaround for the Premier League. And let's start things off with the champions of the Premier League versus the champions of the Championship. Leeds versus Liverpool. Leeds finally got back to the Premier League with the help of the genius that is Marcelo Bielsa. And I think Liverpool and most Premier League fans thought, well, this is just the best team in the world, and they're gonna run all over Leeds, this newly promoted side. But it was not going to be like that. No, Leeds United was not going down easy, and it was a great game, an amazing way to kick things off for the return of English football. One thing I think you definitely notice is that defensively, most teams are just not really there. Liverpool just didn't look great. I mean, Van Dijk had a pretty bad error that led to a goal. And then you know what as well, though? I mean, I think Leeds are legit. I think Leeds are going to be one of those teams that stays in that top echelon of the top teams. And that means someone might be coming down, which is going to be interesting to see, because I think a lot of those mid-tier teams, you think of Newcastle, you think of Southampton, those teams are the ones on the come up, and then Everton, of course, too. But I think Leeds will definitely stay up. They're so well organized with Marcelo Bielsa. They have the attacking firepower to keep up with most teams, which in most cases, that's not really what you see with the championship side. They tend to eventually revert to a style of basically parking the bus for the most part. Their firepower really isn't there. It's not able to compete with the likes of Premier League squads. But to be able to go, into a 3-all battle until the very end, until the most solid penalty, I mean, that's very impressive. Now, the one thing obviously is their defensive solidity is probably not there. Tough to know against a side like Liverpool, where Salah looks like otherworldly in that game there. But overall, I think you have to be pretty optimistic if you're a Leeds fan, at least to stay up for this year. I'm backing them. I think 100% that they will. As for Fulham and West Brom, though, I'm really not sure. And this doesn't even really matter. It's not about the losses that they just got, but I just generally don't think that they're going to be able to hang around with a lot of these teams. I mean, Brighton didn't look very good today, and we'll talk about them as well, but it's tough to see other teams that are going to be so likely to fall down and eventually get relegated. Before I continue, guys, please make sure to give this video a quick thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Lingo Sports, because you know that you'll have a special place in my heart for that. But let's move on to another couple of mid-tier clubs, Everton and Tottenham. Yes, I know Tottenham supposedly one of the top 6. Well, they definitely did not look it in this game versus Everton. But Everton also is starting to look like they're finally climbing the ladder, especially with Carlo Ancelotti. He's got his guy, James Rodriguez, who looked amazing. He looked rejuvenated. He looked full of life. I mean, obviously, the guy still looks like a baby. I'm pretty sure he's almost 30 now. But this team looks really, really good. And, against a side like Tottenham, with Jose Mourinho, the way he sets things up, I thought they looked pretty good defensively. And yeah, they got the one goal, and they did what they needed to. But I wouldn't be too surprised that Everton can maybe vault the likes of Arsenal, maybe even Wolves, who look very, very good today. I mean, realistically, Everton has had so much talent, so much money poured into it. And finally, we're starting to see a good structure with a Champions League pedigreed manager and Carlo Ancelotti. So we will see if they eventually do end up getting into just maybe a Champions League spot, because I actually think that they could do it despite my previous predictions. If you haven't seen that, please check that out in the top left corner right there. But this game here really changes my opinion. What's happened this first week has changed my opinion slightly, because it's confirmed some biases I had previously about the weaknesses and strengths of a couple of teams. But I think Everton is definitely one to look out for, and one that no team should really expect to get easy points off. That is for sure. As for Tottenham, though, Jose Mourinho just looks like he's doing exactly what he did at Manchester United. The problem is, though, is that the board hasn't really given him that big money buy. He's gotten a few players, but it's not really looking like a Jose Mourinho team. It's not really looking like a heavily improved side in the second season. I mean, obviously we'll see as things, transpire as we go down the road here. He's really only had about half a season or so with the Tottenham Hotspurs, but in reality, I don't think this is going to be a very good season for them. I had a little bit more high hopes for them, but they just don't look very good. And I think the mood around the club is really what I'm sensing. It just doesn't feel good. I'm not sure that the Spurs are going to really respond to Jose Mourinho and his management style. Now, something related to Tottenham Hotspur is the All or Nothing series. And I've been watching. It has been super entertaining, and I think I will do a recap with you next week on the next episode of Real G Football. So get yourself caught up, watch all the episodes. We can take a look at Spurs, Manchester City, Barcelona, Juve, and just look at all the other football documentaries where they got inside access at these clubs and really notice there's some very key differences between how Spurs is doing it and the rest were doing it. It's Monday today, and we just saw Chelsea finish off Brighton pretty badly, but at the same time, it wasn't as bad as the scoreline would have you believe. You know, they did look like they battered them in terms of the score, but the game overall was not very impressive. We finally got to see this side that was so hyped up with all the transfers, and obviously there's a limited window and there wasn't much time to train or anything like that, and they may bring in more players. But this side does not look very good. And one thing I really am disgusted with is Frank Lampard coming out with a statement today saying that essentially he was happy to bring up the academy players for just the one season, but he's so ready to move on and he doesn't want to be an academy manager, which is so gross. And now he's betrayed the trust of players like Tammy Abraham and Mason Mount, two players that got him to where he is today, and he just completely thrown them to the wayside. He's replaced them with people like Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech and Christian Pulisic and now Kai Havertz. And it's just kind of a gross thing to see. I was really starting to like Frank Lampard in this management role, but honestly, now I just can't wait to see these guys lose, because the way he has gone about this, to me, it just is not what I stand for in football. It's not what I like to see in my managers. I'm not saying every club or manager has to have this investment in their youth academy, no matter how good or bad it is, but Chelsea have a great youth academy, and you know, I do believe in a little bit of loyalty to players, because ultimately they always end up getting on the bad end of things, especially if you look at it on an average scale. Now let's talk about the craziness that has happened in the past weekend in Ligue 1. Well, PSG coming back after a very short turnaround, a lot of coronavirus positive tests, leaving their squad kind of broken up quite a bit, and it's partly caused them to lose 2 times in a row. They only lost 3 times last year, and now they're on the brink of basically smashing that record, and who knows where things might go, especially if more coronavirus tests come up. I actually just looked it up today and saw that Paris had over 10,000 positive COVID tests, and you see them bringing fans back into stadiums in France. I just don't think it's a good idea. I mean, the evidence is right there for you that the virus is clearly still alive and well, and it's still attacking people. So it's going to be very dangerous for all involved. Everyone is at risk, and I don't think anybody really is taking it seriously enough around the world. But another issue that people clearly are not taking very much issue with around the world, at the end of the game, we saw obviously this crazy brawl between the PSG and Marseille players. There was a lot going on there, and obviously we couldn't tell what exactly had happened. But Neymar accused the defender Alvaro of using racial slurs towards him. And Alvaro then responded with another picture, a picture with him and all players of all different races, saying that he is not racist. And perhaps he may not understand exactly what he said, or maybe he is completely lying. But either way, once again, we see racism springing up in football, and not just in football, everybody, but just in life in general. You've probably seen another video previously about me talking about the players kneeling and protesting for George Floyd, you know, in Germany with Jadon Sancho and others when the Bundesliga restarted. And once again, it's reared its ugly head, and now with one of the game's biggest stars, and in a sense, because of this incident, I do hope that it starts to bring more light and starts to make people care. And it's unfortunate and it's terrible for the fact that it takes such a big person and a big player in popularity for people to start caring about this sort of thing, this terrible injustice, this discrimination. Everybody simply needs to just educate themselves. That's the bottom line. You need to educate yourselves on the words used to discriminate against black people, against all races, and against all genders and sexual orientations, regardless. This discrimination that we have on our planet is a very deep-rooted problem. And obviously I want to stick and focus on racial injustice towards black people here. Specifically with this Neymar incident, I believe he said that he claims Alvaro called him a monkey. And there are some obvious reasons with this why this could be so bad, is because many white people, or many slave owners in general, not just white people, have degraded black people, calling them monkeys, basically calling them stupid, apes, worthless, things like that. There are so many slurs, and I don't want to really say too many of them on this channel. You can look them up yourself, because that really is the best way for you to understand this, for you to learn, and for Alvaro to learn, and other players to learn and stand up against this sort of thing, because we need to be aware of what exactly is the issues, what exactly are the things that we need to avoid, what we need to get rid of in our world in order for it to be a better place. And I really hope that whether it's FIFA, whether it's Ligue, whether it's PSG, whether it's Marseille, somebody has to come down on this, and Alvaro needs to apologize, and he needs to make a recompense with Neymar and all other black players across the world, and set an example of how you can change as a person, how we can make this world better. Once again, guys, please make sure to like and share this video and subscribe to Lingo Sports. That would be a huge help for our channel. It helps us grow, makes this easier for us to eventually make this our full-time job, which is exactly what we want to do, is bring the best content to you and entertain you, and also, in cases like these, educate more people and hopefully create a bit of positive change in this world. For a bit more of that as well, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and you can do the same for Lingo Sports as well. Take care. We out.